Welcome to All Over Bar the Cricket. This is a massive episode. I tell you what, we're going to talk about Australia A runs, white ball hundreds. Everyone's getting excited. What does that mean for the summer ahead? I've got a good mate coming back from the UK who says their fans have got right ahead of themselves. I'm going to ask the boys about that. Matty Hayden says he's going to run nude around the MCG if Joe Root doesn't make a test century this Ashes summer. Boys are piling in from everywhere. And, of course, we get the finish to the boys' best English 11 in their time. So it's a big episode of All Over Bar the Cricket. And a big hello to two men wearing glasses. Greg Blewett in Adelaide, welcome to you.
Hello, Haydos. G'day, JB. Well, I didn't have my glasses on, and then I saw, because I reckon the first episode that we did, Haydos was piling into me. I don't know what he is doing now, but when I looked at Haydos on my computer, there he was with he's got his clear ones on.
See-throughs.
They look like welding glasses.
What are you
just got to do what you got to do, Blue, don't you, these days? When you're over 50, I tell you right, things become very small and very blurry. So best we get to this show, though, rather than look at your pathetic glasses and mine as well.
Well, let's get started, boys. Australia A in India, white ball cricket here in Australia, runs starting to be made. What do we make of all of this with regard to the summer coming up? Is it just a preamble? I get the feeling the real stuff's going to start when the Shield games start, especially if the pitches are prepared the way I suspect the test pitches will be prepared. But Constas, your boy, Dos in the runs, everyone basically in the runs in that game in India.
Yeah, look, Greg Chappell once said to me, just a bit of advice, he must have been in that Australia series, Blue. He said, no matter what happens, when you put a cricket bat in your hand, your brain doesn't know anything different. And I thought, that's a really interesting observation. It means I'm dominating the backyard.
Yeah.
The reality is, though, that I think there is a bit in that, because you can only ask players to perform, and it doesn't matter what level it is. Now, we're talking about also, quite a reasonable attack here for India. It's not.
Well, I was going to ask you about that, because you know these boys, so tell us about them.
And there's a few that I don't know, right? But we do know Prasid Krishna, Khalil Ahmed, and then Harsh Dubey. So they've got a relatively, who was actually the most successful bowler in that campaign as well, left-arm orthodox player from Pune in Maharashtra. But the reality is we know that Indian conditions, and there have been many Australian players, including myself, even though I had one good series there, it was a struggle. It was always, a very difficult place. It's very hot at the moment. And we're seeing the girls that got hammered overnight as well by Smriti Mandana in a really solid run chase. They were defending a big total, 300. So, look, the reality is it's a tough place to play. It's very hot at the moment. It's got moisture. It's the end of their monsoon season in the north. So there's lots of interfering conditions. And, of course, it will turn. So I love the fact that our young Australian players were asked to go over there and perform. In particular, the speculation is on this top three. Marnus Labuschagne making 100 in the One-Day Cup as well back here in Australia. You can only just ask your players to perform, and that means every time you get a cricket bat in your hand, be that in the nets, club cricket, these Australia A series, the one-day stuff, or in fact these 4 games which we seem to be putting enormous emphasis on, we want to see our batsmen stand up and get hundreds.
Well, Bluey, I likened it a bit to when you read about Tiger Woods' upbringing. His old man was asked why Tiger Woods never played up as a kid. He only ever played against kids his own age from like 10 onwards. And his old man was quoted as saying, I want my son to win every tournament he plays in. So I don't want him playing against 22-year-olds when he's 14. I want him to play against kids his own age. So every time he tees it up, he wins and knows he's going to win. So to Doss's point, I couldn't agree with that anymore. I think no matter what the game is, if you're making runs, it's got to be good for your cricket.
Yeah, totally agree with that as well. And actually, there was a little pointer there where Haydos mentioned Greg Chappell when he was getting coached at Australia A. It's probably the difference between Haydos and myself, because Haydos ended up averaging 50 at Test match cricket because he listened to the coaches. I can't remember anything a coach ever said to me
Does
throughout
that
my
surprise
career,
you, Doss?
which is why I probably
Well,
tailed off a bit.
a
But
bit. I always thought Blewy was quite a studious member of the
Mate,
team.
I've been his best mate for how long now? 40 years? He's never listened to one word I've said.
and it's Haydos, especially team meetings, mate. It's like, seriously.
You and Mark Waugh. I actually want to get Mark Waugh on this show because
Well,
he was the one bloke that just tuned out at team meetings.
But back to that point, JB, and I totally agree, because every time you play, you want to score runs, and I think it's great. That's all I've taken out of the start of the summer. I think it's great that Curtis Patterson got 100 as well, because his name's been spoken about. And obviously Marnus yesterday making 100 for Queensland, and, Constas and Callaway even making 88 at the top of the order. I think it's absolutely great, but I basically read zero into it. I really do. For me, it's all, and I'm pretty sure the selectors are the same way. It's all about those Shield games, because that's when they're going to be under similar sort of pressure, not quite the same amount of pressure, but similar sort of playing conditions as what they're going to get in that first Test match. So yes, make runs, and that is great for your confidence as well. Poor old Marcus Harris got a first baller, feel for him. But you want to score runs early on in the season. But in terms of selection, it's still, for me, doesn't matter until we start those Shield games.
JB, do you, from a media perspective, and in my opinion, we have this enormous momentum around media and build up into this Ashes series. We're going to talk about that through the show.
Yes.
But early runs and momentum, how much of a role does the media play when it comes to the selection table versus in our era?
Yeah, I think it's enormous. I think if a player makes a hot start and there's a spot open, I mean, that's the difference, Doss. I look back to when we all played. You could start a Sheffield Shield campaign in October and be a bloody good player. We discussed this a few episodes ago. There were no spots. You never thought about playing for Australia. There was just no openings anywhere. So, when it was Slater, Taylor, Boone, War, Border, try getting a game in that team. So no one even thought about it. You just tried to make as many runs as you could. You blokes made plenty and still didn't get picked. So all I think now, Doss, is how exciting for these young batters to think, you know what, there's 4 Shield games coming up and there are bloody spots. If I make a couple of big hundreds, I'm a chance to play in the first Ashes test in Perth. So to that point, exciting. Secondly, the media, I think play a real role, because if suddenly they get behind you and suddenly, if you're a Jason Sangha, for instance, and you rip out a couple of big 150s and the media bandwagon starts rolling behind you, then, heading into Perth, you're like, well, he's got to be picked. So I think it's enormous. Just getting back to India, Doss, I only ever played in India once, and it was in a bloody stupid tournament in 89. I flew out of the Lancashire League into Madras in September, age 19. I've never experienced anything like it. I remember walking out onto the ground to train for the first time thinking, you can't play cricket in this. It's like the sauna just after you've poured the water over the rocks. You know how it takes about 30 seconds for that steam to settle enough for you to think you can stay in the sauna? The whole day was like that. I thought, I was so naive. I had no idea that Indian cricket could possibly be like that.
Talking of steam as well, there might well have been a couple of outhouses in that sauna as well, because what happens is that all the different estuaries, they come out of the city of Chennai, and then it wraps around the stadium and at Chapak, and it is just a furnace and the odors and just the general goings on.
Oh my God!
They put a new dimension to tolerance when it comes to, exploring the senses.
We only played, I reckon, in that 4-day game, 70 overs a day, because it pissed rain overnight. So the ground was just like wet when you got there, and they said, right, well, we can't start till the ground's good enough, obviously. So in that time, the baking sun just got the moisture coming up out of the ground. As I say, I was just such a puppy. I had no idea what the hell I was doing. It was just overwhelming.
I've been hot in India as well, Haydos, but I reckon I've been just as affected by heat and humidity in Queensland, in Brisbane as well.
Yeah.
After after Christmas, I remember playing in this.
Yeah.
I think it was an Australia A game. Can't even remember the opposition. Anyway, we all got 40 runs because we just literally couldn't. Like, we're all, feeling like we're going to vomit on the pitch. The other place is Sri Lanka as well, which is obviously very close to India, but shit, it gets hot in Sri Lanka as well.
Yeah. Well, the difference between you and I, Blue, is there's not a lot of moisture that can escape that lean frame of yours. Whereas I've never had a cramp to this day, which is amazing, really, considering the hot climates that we played in. But, you think, did you both crampers or you?
No,
really.
Never out there long enough.
Interesting, right?
No.
Yeah. I think beer solves all problems when it comes to cramp.
But now, Bluey, I know that the old Gabba could get a tang about it, mainly because of, some of the residents looked like they hadn't left from the day before, but nothing like that ground in India. That stink that came out of that river running next to Madras's ground.
I'm talking purely
smelled anything.
I'm talking purely temperature. I'm not talking about any smell involved.
But, all right. So, boys, we all know Rabs. He does a great job on Triple M Cricket producing during the summer and works with us on the Rush Hour. A good boy. Just gone and got himself married in the north of England, Haydos, at Lytham and St Anne's near Blackpool.
Yeah.
And he has returned after a long time away, actually, Rabs. He's had a nice break. And he said that the fans over there have got a nice head of steam up. He said everywhere I went, they said, look out, we're coming down there and we're winning the Ashes. And I said to him, Rabs, did you point out the fact that they couldn't beat India at home? He goes, I tried, but you can't get through them. They are absolutely assured that they're winning the Ashes this year, which I think makes this summer even better.
Yeah, look, I said this once before, the Poms are the worst winners and the worst losers both. And now the reason why is because they just get so high with any kind of success. And largely that's driven by the amplification of tabloid media who just sensationalize everything. So this will go down as one of the great, test match series simply because the Poms have got a chance. Which and I'm gonna get onto this a little bit later when we discuss our players, because I see a lot of parallels between what happened in 2005 and England winning versus what happened the very next season in 2006-07.
Well, it's a nice segue for us, Bluey, because a couple of eps ago, or was it last? They all sort of can't get the chronological order of them, but
I do for you because you're everywhere.
Our man said if Joe Root doesn't make 100 in this Ashes series coming up, he's going to run nude around the MCG. And it's caused all hell to break loose, like even on our own WhatsApp feed. I said, not even Kelly, Doss's beautiful wife, wants to see that. There's not your own daughter waded in and said, please, for the love of God, that can't happen. So that's just people close to us. But then Stewie Broadbluey, in his own podcast out of the UK, had this to say about Doss's statement.
Matthew Hayden will walk round the ground naked or something if Joe Root doesn't score 100 in Australia.
Don't think, I feel a bit...
Not sure how you feel about that. I did see his daughter replied to that, I think, to Rooty, saying, please score 100. But
I think everyone should text Root, please score 100.
Well, that's obviously Joss Butler as well. But so there's the English view, Doss.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, of course they'll want to see him make 100. And as I said last time as well, we want to see a great competition, and Joe Root is their key player. Bluey. And as Bluey said, he hasn't made 100, and that's a big call, Blue.
He's missing the point.
Let's get back to the nudity part.
Yeah, right. Okay.
So you said, JB, run around, but I'm pretty sure he said walk around.
Oh my God, that's even worse.
Because if he runs, that could. There's stuff happening everywhere there. There'll be, but the walk, there's a lot. Obviously, a lot slower. Haydos. So is it going to be a walk or a run?
Well, it should be a run. It should be the minimal time. Surely the exposure should be minimal at best.
Well, let's hear from Jason Gillespie, of course, one of the all-time great fast bowlers for Australia, and well, he waded in.
I mean, he's got form here, Adam,
Okay.
because he said the same thing when I made my double 100 in Bangladesh. I was on 70 or 80 or something, and he said, if you get a double 100, or if you get 100 or double 100, I'll do a nude lap. I said, that's all well and good, mate, but you got to remember, we're in a Muslim country here, mate, so I'm not sure that's going to work. You know, and to be fair, Haydos, no one wants to see you without clothes on, mate. I'm sorry. You know, you're a good-looking rooster, but, you know, no one needs to see that. I absolutely agree with Matty Hayden. I think he will get 100.
Nice little turnaround. Yes, Diz, you're in my corner. Now, I want to explain the scenario here.
Right.
Bangladesh, and Dizzy is just blocking hell out of him, as he does. There's no one that had a greater defence and no attack than Jason Gillespie. So, like Joe Root, when you look at the numbers, it mounted a compelling case around whether he's going to make 100 or in fact 200. And I thought just choosing the road less travelled as a little incentive that I'd give him, you know, a crusket to go on with.
A crusket.
And then thinking, which was what I would have been eating for the rest of my life, mind you, if I'd done a nude lap in Bangladesh. I would have been in some prison eating rice crisps for the rest of my life. But how about that? He gets 200.
No.
And then he gets rissoled.
No. That's his last
Never
game.
to play again.
Last ever test. I got a little bit of advice for Dizzy as well, JB, and you might have picked up on that as well, working in the media so much that just with the camera angle there and the size of the nose, we saw a fair bit of both nostrils from the big bourgeois. So I think, next time, Diz, you've got that either your computer or your phone set up, more eye level, please, for everyone.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing I'd say as we leave this topic, because we've got lots to discuss, is a nude lap around the MCG from the Big D should be a different set. Right, so we move to what I'm hearing is coming up.
Nickname Nunu.
And that is, have you got a function up there in Queensland for the 30-year anniversary of the Sheffield Shield victory, the big man?
Yeah, we have. We're celebrating your 50, what was it, 53.
Not enough.
Where just scampered around and just whipped one into Chucky Seckham, and it was good evening for you, Brace. But that was after, you know, what was a pretty extraordinary. I'm just having a little
80 years or something, wasn't it? How long was it before you
30
first
years.
went?
Yeah, 30 years.
Oh, right.
No, but that was your first ever Shield win, Doss, right?
After
Yeah.
64 years.
Yeah, right.
Something like that. So, you know, an extraordinary performance by that team. And an extraordinary first innings total, which set it all up. You know, Tank 150, Lovey 140, AB, who you blokes knew was the formidable target of 98. You know, so 600 odd was huge. He had a good attack as well. Macca, Dizzy, Mark Harrity, George, Benny Johnson, and yourself. Oh, I didn't notice that.
And a wicket.
What one for? What poor bastard did you get out there?
Lovey, he's only on 150. Just got one to leave him off the deck, Blewy, and nicked off.
So Haydos,
Yeah.
obviously a very similar pitch to what you normally would prepare for us in the normal part of the season. Just
it was a green.
decided
It was a green seam. Yeah.
Yeah,
It had plenty in it.
No,
No,
I
it was
knew we were in
absolute
trouble
road.
because we batted first and should have made a lot and didn't. So that
You
was
should have. See, Blue, we
trouble
gave you a
written
chance.
all over us after that, Bluey. But no, worthy winners. So what is it going to look like? Are you at a big hotel?
It could be a
or
bit
what is-
messy. I mean, Bluey, you were in the West Indies, right?
Yes.
So I just want to know what happened when big Carlos Rackemann. Now, Carlos Rackemann I would say would be the number one legacy player for the Queensland cricket camp of all time. You know, so he'd been in finals, lost finals. He was a great big try, the big German. But he must have been looking extremely crusty by the time after that game, which he performed once again marvellously at, he came over to you in the West Indies. What did that look like?
Haydos, well, it's footy trip time as we speak, right? End of the footy season. Everyone generally either goes interstate, the footy teams, or they go to Bali, right?
Yep.
So Mockers he used the West Indies as his end of season trip. Like he'd obviously,
He would have.
Celebrated with you guys, and then he came over and
As a reserve bowler, basically, wasn't he?
Yeah.
he was never going to
Quite
play.
a reserve
No,
bowler.
so I tell you what, he had the greatest tour of all time, Haydos. He was the night captain, no doubt about it.
What a great bloke, by the way. I mean, you didn't
I love
normally
Mocker.
you didn't normally have great relationships with fast bowlers as a batter, but you couldn't dislike that bloke. He was an absolute champion.
Yeah, agree. And could bowl. He was ugly for you blokes. I actually
Yeah.
was licking my choppers pretty much every ball at Gully because he just had that steepling bounce, that awkward, weird kind of, action.
Yeah.
And he felt like he made the pitch 16 yards. He felt like most times facing fast bowlers in the nets, but this time you're in a live game in the middle.
My third, I can't remember, third game of first-class cricket was a Shield final in Perth against Queensland. Would that have been 87, 88 or somewhere around there? Anyway, he was at his peak, and it was a hard, fast whacker. And I remember thinking, this is just not good at all. This is I'm getting bombed like bloody Berlin in 1945. And at one stage, I stopped one in front of my face, Bluey, and it sort of dropped into the short leg. And I thought, good, I'm scampering through for a single and getting to the other end. And I got sent back by someone, might have been Mike Valletta or someone said, no, mate, you're staying down there. So I got about 3 metres out of the crease and then I sort of had to scamper back. And by that stage, the big mock had followed through. And he wasn't a sledger, Dos, was he? Didn't say much on the ground at all.
No.
And all I remember of this huge, great big Queensland German standing in front of me going, get back in there, you ding weasel. He branded me a weasel.
Oh, the big fella.
I loved him. I thought he was
Didn't mind a few of the sponsors' products either.
That's what I loved, Dos. He had time for everyone. When the day's play finished, he was a great bloke to have a beer with in the rooms. Just a ripper.
Great.
What
Great
about
family.
when he didn't play again, Dos, and someone said to him, well, are you going to announce your retirement? And he said, well, why would I do that? I didn't announce my arrival, so why would I announce my departure?
He was one bloke that was ahead of his time because he used to go crazy around LBWs, right? So because of that angle in particular to the right hand, it was always hard to get LBWs with mock because you'd always be outside the line.
Yeah.
Either hitting or, even if you were kind of padding up, he had that great bounce as well. So in arguing the toss on this, he used to get string lines, take the umpires, Porky Parker and co. He used to tie string lines across the Gabba nets and then say, see, I told you it was hitting, as he bowled the ball. Oh, mate. I mean, obviously, Hawkeye now generates all that stuff for us instantly in broadcast, but in many ways, he was ahead of his time, and he always had a quirky look at all these things.
That's how they used to roll us with their umpires up there, Bluey. They'd do string lines and get them into the nets, and suddenly it was, bang, off you go, and you can
Must
off
be
you
hitting.
trot. And then AB, it'd be back on the sticks, and it'd be hitting all three.
Not out.
Not out. And then he'd walk around going, what do you want me to give myself out? All right, boys, I can hold the two of you back no longer because these teams, the best England 11 of your time, there's been some discussions. So there's been ferocious discussions. So we've got through the top 7 and we're now picking the bowlers. And where are we starting? I think you started first last time, Dos. So Bluey, who's number 8 for you?
Yeah, and we've also got to point out, because I've been copping all sorts online, but it's our time
Your
as
time,
well.
exactly.
So it's from 93 onwards.
Yeah.
All right?
So Ken Barrington and people like that who average
We also
58,
have run a poll,
we're not
Bluey.
putting in there.
All over Bar the Cricket on Instagram has run a poll. I don't know if you noticed that. And you're getting
What's happening with the poll?
Oh, you're getting hammered.
I
Hammered.
am.
You are.
Oh,
Yeah. We'll give you the number in
All right.
post. We'll give you the numbers
all right,
in
we'll
post.
get the
but
team selected.
Okay. So, my number, what are we up to? Number 7, aren't we? Or 8?
8.
8. Okay, my 8.
what a rookie.
Now, I've got a little bit of a warning here. I've got a very long tail. So once you get through,
Oh, my goodness.
once you get through 6, you could go through my tail. But
Right.
batting at number 8, well, I'm starting my bowling lineup pretty
Yes.
much, and that is Stuart Broad. So Stuart
Oh.
Broad would bat at number 8 in my team. Fine bowler, 40 Ashes Test matches, 153 wickets at 28.9, 8 fifers, 1 10-fer. In Australia, not as effective, Big Haydos. 15 Test matches, 47 wickets at 34. But Stuart Broad is in my team.
Hard to argue. All right, Big Doss.
I've gone for Freddie Flintoff. Remember, Blue, you had him last week, didn't you?
Yeah,
So
he's my
I've-
all-rounder, yes.
Yeah, so
Right.
I've got a side full of batsmen,
All right.
all-rounding batsmen. So I'm batting as deep as I possibly can. I'm going to make it so hard for Australia to bowl my team out that it's just impossible for them to win a test match. That's how deep my batting
So-
lineup is.
All right, so he's one of your starting fast bowlers. What are his
Yeah.
numbers?
Yeah, our numbers are fantastic.
No, they're not.
Look, it's a bit of a hot debate, right, between Beefy, who I did get at the back end of my career as well, but it's 2000, so obviously that's not going to count. But his numbers are pretty similar in many ways. We've got 79 matches, 15 against Australia. He's got 100. He's got 650s, averaging 33 with a strike rate of 67. So almost 70 with the bat. So he's a real rear guard action at
Yeah, but
number
you're picking
8
him as a
well.
bowler, so let's
That's
get
right.
his
I'm picking
bowling
him as a
numbers.
bowler. I'm picking him
Right.
as a bowler. And the reason, no, I'll give you the numbers first. So he's got 2 fifers against us, averaging 33 with the ball. Best figures at the Oval, 5 for 78. And at Lord's, 5 for 92. When you think of impact players, Ashes impact players, you think of the all-rounders, Stokes, you think of Beefy, and you think of Freddie Flintoff. Now, just from a personal point of view, I prided my batting on the fact that I didn't get bowled a lot. LB, I was kind of happy to kind of go with. Blue, I don't know what your numbers percentage-wise of dismissals are.
Opposite.
Bowled versus LBW. But mine are sort of in that 12% zone to 15% zone of mode of dismissals. And of course, we're going to get caught because it's the modern game and we were starting to go aerial more so than on the ground. But Freddie, as a bowler for me, not as a new ball bowler, so I've got a couple of very special new ball bowlers coming up in my team, but as an impact bowler, when it got tough beyond the old ball, beyond the new ball and into those middle phases where we as batsmen look to dominate, there was no one that challenged me in my era more than Freddie Flintoff with reverse swing, and he would clip my stumps and get me LBW the majority of the time. I rarely got caught from Freddie, somewhere slashing through the gully or wherever. So challenging my stumps, bowling rapid. I don't think I've faced a better spell of bowling than when he came back with the old ball in Old Trafford in 2005, a great test match. And he just was amazing. His pace was incredible. His impact through the reverse swing was really challenging. And look, he was just a world-class bowler, in my opinion.
So, JB, they sound like all-rounder sort of type figures to me.
That's a scared selection for me.
Righto.
Like Freddie should have been in the top 7. That's how good he is. No one's arguing the quality.
Yep.
But putting him in as a number 8 means you're trying
Well,
to
no one's-
shore up your batting.
No,
rather
I'm not
than
saying
picking
that.
bowlers.
No, I'm picking him as a genuine third seamer.
Okay, so
Simple
my
as that.
boy averages 28 and Haydos's boy averages 33. So, yeah, let's move on.
Look at the dots.
We'll move on, mate. No, we'll move on. I'm
Those
happy
clear
to move on.
glasses are just
Yeah.
not moving.
Plus, Plus plus we're not
This-
really interested in what you Muppets have got to say.
This-
We'll put it
this
out there to the
poll is
social.
just starting to
And just
swing
see.
around.
It
Dos.
is.
I like it.
Yep.
Not when you get into my lineup, buddy. I'm telling you, they'll be knocking you over for fun.
Right. Who
Yeah,
else?
that is guaranteed.
Who else? Number 9.
Okay, my number 9 is someone that I played a little bit against, and I'm sure you did as well, Dos. And he was basically the spiritual leader of the England attack for a long, long time. Bowled good reverse swing, had good skill with the new ball as well. Could actually swing the ball both ways if he wanted to, but generally away from the right-handers. Back into you, Haydos, but an out-and-out trier, and that is Darren Goff. Who
Wow.
Right.
was my next door neighbour when I played for Yorkshire, Goffy.
okay.
So we spent a lot of car trips together. 17 Ashes Test matches, 74 wickets at 30, 4 fifers, and probably more importantly as well for me, in Australia, 8 Test matches, 41 wickets at 27.
That's good going.
Mm.
I know.
Yeah, he was a great bowler. There's no doubt about it. Short in stature, which I felt in Australia kind of limited him a bit because he just didn't get that bounce. And so if he didn't take early wickets or it wasn't swinging with the kookaburra, that trajectory tended to go straight into your bat and at decent pace. and at decent pace
Straight
as well.
into the middle of my bat.
I didn't say middle of my bat. I said straight into your bat. But if you want to add middle, yes. No, he was a fine bowler, great character as well. I mean, we at the outset did say to our listeners and viewers that we wanted to pick a great entertaining side. We wanted to pick a side that you'd want to pay money for.
Yep.
And so my number 9, who was a handy bat, nothing about batting, you average 20, is a spinner. Because I'll be really interested to see what your spinner, whether you haven't got a spinner, and you've
No, I've
sounds
got a
to me,
spinner.
oh, have you? Sounds like to me you were going in with an all pace attack.
No.
Okay, so I've got Graham Swann as our spinner. Admirable mentions to Ashley Giles. I was looking at the Welsh Rock. I was looking at, but very briefly, because these numbers aren't
Joel's
compelling.
just applying some drive-bys to a few as he's...
And Tuffers, we talk about entertainment. Tuffers, purely because he's got 15 ducks against us in Ashes cricket, he came under some scrutiny. I'd love to see his polls get blown over once again. But in Australia, Tuffers, he played 9 tests, got 20 wickets at 56. Graham Swann, numbers, 60 tests, 255 wickets overall at 29.97, strike rate of 60, less than 3 runs and over. Against Australia, he played quite a lot of cricket, famously the walkout series that because of his shoulder, and I'm sure we'll hear from Graham at some point, but he took 62 wickets against us at 39. His strike rate was a little high, it was 75.
39.98, by the way, so just might as well be 40.
Yeah, righto. Well, to me, you need a spinner in Test
Righto.
cricket. I'm not going to argue the numbers. The numbers are the numbers, but he was the best. And look, a bit like you, I played a lot with Graham, lot with him, never against him. Northants, I got the opportunity in 98 to be captain of that team, and I had both him and a young Monty Panesar, both in the same side, so the righty and the orthodox left armour. And look, they were both magnificent. Graham was superb in my second year to captain because he'd lost that will to take a wicket every ball because he was a very aggressive off spinner, something that we haven't seen a lot come out of England. And he then learnt to kind of get into a position where he's flighting the ball, trying to hit the top of off stump, he had great control and he could spin the ball as well, which is obviously key for an off spinner. So yeah, and like I said, very handy gripper as well. Good all-round package.
All right, Bluey?
Well, and I'll just add to that, in Australia, he averaged 52.5. So Haydos just magically left that stat out. But I'll move on to my number 10.
Right.
Now, this man will actually feature in this Ashes series with a bit of luck. Fitness, I think he's just starting to come back into first-class cricket. And I'm throwing Mark Wood in there. All right? So I never obviously played against Mark. Why are you shaking your head, Big Doss? Listen to these stats. 11 Ashes test matches, 41 wickets at 27.
Oh, that's good going.
And with 2 fifers, and in Australia, he's so far played four test matches in Australia and averages 26. So for pure impact and bowling at 150 Ks, reverse swing, can shape the ball away, Mark Wood is my number 10. So I've got Stuart Broad, Goff, Wood, Flintoff as my 4 quick bowlers.
Right. Doss?
Right. So you're yet to name your spinner. He's going to be your donkey.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Let's make this a quicker part because we've got my number 10 is going to be Stuart Broad. I feel that Broadie, and I guess my next pick is going to be really obvious, right? But when you think back to combinations of players, without spoiling the broth, but combination of players, he is England's the world's 4th highest wicket taker of all time. He's got 604 wickets. When I think back to the greats of the game, you think of combinations, for example, when you get disintegration of players. Now, Stuart Broad at the top of his game met who you consider Australia be the top opener of the day, maybe in the world even, and that was Davey Warner, and he just completely annihilated Davey Warner every time that he actually came up against him. And, that was
In
a
England?
McGrath, for example, and an Atherton.
Are you putting in England in there? He didn't have the same success in Australia against Davey, did he?
Well, maybe not so much, but, I mean, you
in
guys
England,
seem
he
to be
certainly
putting a
did, yeah.
truckload of weight on just purely Australia as well, and I get it. But, Broad got him 7 out of 10 innings. When you look back at that 19 Ashes series, he made Davey Warner look like a second-grade cricketer. Simple as that. He averaged 30 against England in that series, and he was absolutely the bogeyman without any question whatsoever. He embarrassed Australia in many ways, many times during his long and illustrious career, and I can't wait to hear what he's got to say, through this summer, and certainly whether he's got his tail up as well when he comes to this venue, because he was a real protagonist in this country too, wasn't he? Every opportunity he got to wind the Australian crowd up, he'd do so, and that means that the Australian crowd actually really respected him as well. We'll probably never forget his 8 for 15 at Trent Bridge in the 2015 Ashes, where he bowled Australia out for 60 in just 20 overs. So there's a lot of, he mounts a compelling case as not only England's greatest of all time bowler, but also certainly in my team he's our number 1 pick bowler.
Hard to argue for any sort of case against Stuart Broad. He was an absolute superstar, no doubt about that. There's still a name I haven't heard, by the way, which I'm interested in as we get to number 11, Bluey.
Yeah, my number 11 is my spin bowler, Doss.
Yeah.
Now, I've gone past Graham Swann because I used to think he was
You've gone past a few other names as well, just quietly, but
handy spin bowler. But his Ashes test matches aren't as compelling as my man, and he's batting at number 11 for a good reason, and that is because his name is Philip Tufnell. Because I've got Tuffers in there now.
15 ducks, yes.
Yeah, so we
only have to really take. We don't have to take 10 wickets. That's it. Bang.
Used to get Mark Waugh out for fun.
That's because he was trying to smash him out of the SCG.
Well, that's right. Anyway, I'll just give you his stats, which you got horribly wrong as far as I'm concerned, because they're completely different to the ones I've seen. So,
right.
Tuffers played 12 Ashes test matches, both in England and Australia. 36 wickets at 38. So he's better than Graham Swann's average of 40. And in Australia, he averaged 41 with the ball compared to Graham Swann's 52. So the big cat who's a character as well. He's in my side.
Right.
Yep.
Interesting.
Well, that is interesting.
All right. So you've got, I still haven't heard a
Yeah.
name that is extraordinary in its absence.
No,
but,
I'm going to give it to you.
Come on.
I'm going to give it to you. Well, it's Jimmy Anderson. I mean,
Oh,
why you look? The jury was out early doors, and I was quoted back in the time. I think it was 2012 after I'd finished playing of calling him a B grade bowler, right? which is just ridiculous.
Yes, it is.
Now the reason why, and as they say in life, first impressions count. Okay, so first impressions for Jimmy was when we played them in the 2006-7 Ashes. First test, which we've all said on the show before, should always be in Brisbane for good reason. And this was a case of it being good reason, because that was a test match, if you remember, that Ricky got 196 and 60, and we won by about 600 million. But Jimmy was just shy of his sidecar.
Oh.
Now, to explain to our viewers what a sidecar is, I think it came from Merv, gents. Have you got a story on what it means to get a sidecar? But sidecar, as I understand it, is when you get 150, and really it's like if you go any more than that, you're not getting picked for the next test. So he got 1 for 141 in that game before it went to that legendary Ashes test match where Collie got 200 in Adelaide. And Huss, we got us home with a wet sail.
Yep.
A huge test match. We won't go into that right now. But he also took 1 for there as well for $1 million as well. I think it might have been over 100. And I just thought, this bloke, fair income, is a sweatband swinger. He walked around like he had a lollipop up his backside as well, because he was pretty good, decent on the lip as well. Good looking rooster like you, Blue. In fact, a lot like you, Blue. Full stop.
Yeah. Which bit?
Just, walking around like, oh, yes, I'm the best ever. Great, good looking rooster. No, he walked around like he owned the joint, and clearly he knew that he was going to fake it till he make it, because he did turn out to be one of the greats of all time, the greatest English fast bowler of all time, 704 wickets. I don't know if we need to go too much into the numbers, but certainly
we do.
Major contributions in Test cricket and longevity in the game, and I just feel like he is extraordinary.
He's not going to say it, James, but he played 39 Ashes tests, 117 at 36. Average 36.
35.97.
Well, I feel.
So you're not picking him, Blue?
I feel
nowhere near. No, I think brilliant bowler, but not in Ashes cricket. No,
his impact in England gets him a spot for me. I know he had a very poor record in Australia, but his impact in Ashes series in England, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but he and Broad, Bluey, in a couple of those England series were just a
5
nightmare.
for 80 in Edgbaston, Jimmy.
That almost gets him a spot for me, just how incredible he was in his own conditions. Anyway,
Adelaide 4 for
interesting.
50.
So we're going to have. They're going to come for both of you now. They've been coming just for Bluey. Now there's going to be real.
I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure they're going to be coming for me. I've just named.
Audience.
I just named 2 of English greatest wicket takers of all time, and I've named England's greatest spin bowler on numbers as well. Freddie Flintoff and Ben Stokes. Sorry if they can't be the 3 and 4 seamer, and also probably get you 100 under pressure as well. Hey, I reckon you, Blue, you're losing by a country mile.
I've got the phone here, Bluey. I'm just waiting for the Lord, who works with us all summer, Ian Botham, to contact me and say, I don't care what era you're talking about, I'm in. I'm in any England side that ever gets picked.
Totally,
no matter
he'd have
when.
no argument with us. Look, we should go into our top 5 or top 6 players of all time. In time, we must do that through
We'll
the summer.
do that another time because I'm like, well, all right. So
he's in.
That is interesting. Feedback will be coming hard, and I think we might have a guest attached to this team. Well, one of them anyway, and that might be a bit awkward when he comes on. Just realises he's only in one of the 2 teams. Big Doss.
Yeah.
How's that going to go?
Yeah, he's been shafted. by one
Bring
of
it on.
one of us. Talk about awkward handshakes. Is there such a
Yes.
thing as awkward eye contact?
I know.
I'm not sure how that's going to roll.
Oh, I love it. I love it. All right, final overtime. I'm just getting them in order here. Boys, you know how this works. It's more rapid fire. So give us your views on these 4 questions. I'll start with this one. Bumble is back this summer. I think he's doing one test with 7 and maybe a couple with Triple M, the great Lloyd. And it's been sad without him for me. The game needs him, and it needs Skull O'Keefe as well. He's obviously over on Fox and does a great job. We can't lose Blewy and Doss, the characters from the commentary box.
No, I
Couldn't agree
agree.
more.
They're like household names, and more importantly, they bloody provide great content. You know, great storytellers. Both of those boys that you just mentioned. I've had the privilege of working with both of them, only briefly with O'Keefe, but Bumble, I've worked a lot with him at Sky, and just a bloody good bloke and a great character. So, totally agree. And, you know, I think of that, you know, the great Channel 9 era as well, James, that you work for, you know, so many stories, and, you know, Bill Laurie and Tony Gregg and Richie Benaud, all those names, Ian Chappell. So yeah, I agree. We've got to keep those guys around for as long as possible.
That's my only regret with Rich is he was an extraordinary storyteller, and we didn't sort of, because of the era of broadcasting, Big Doss, it wasn't about storytelling back then. It was, you know, 6 balls, ad break, 6 balls, ad break. So you didn't have that longer form to get the stories out of Rich, because he was, if you got him with a glass of red at the Qantas Club and he had a little delay and he got his eye in, he was an extraordinary storyteller, and no idea how funny he was. He wasn't trying to be funny, and he just was. So I agree with that.
Also, the role, JB, that he played within the broadcast dynamic, and that was lead commentator. So very ball, like yourself, you're a ball by ball, and you'll explore sort of other areas quickly. But then unselfishly, what you'll do is you'll pass it over to Blewy and Punter or whoever's on with you to then start to narrate the colour pieces around it. So maybe it was sort of one of those ones where he could have been a bit more sort of an expert rather than a lead on a panel. So he could sort of, you know, lament on his days, because they were such different days. That's why I love guys like Bumble around. I mean, they went through so much change. Can you imagine Bumble's era, even our era? Like, there wasn't tours, there wasn't FaceTime or Skype or any sort of connectivity. It was just the people that you had in front of you and the experiences that you could share and appreciate together. And then it was a vault. It never got out, because how was it going to get out? You couldn't really, unless you're actually, you know, a scribe in the media, you weren't going to write about it. And you certainly couldn't project it on a social media platform. So those stories became, you know, such a great occasion to celebrate when you did get back together.
I remember playing club cricket in England in 1989, that famous Ashes summer where Australia won the series they were never meant to win, and Steve Waugh exploded Blewy onto the world stage, made that 100 in the first test, and then made 100, I reckon, at Lord's. And back in those days on the cricket in England, it was on the BBC, and there were no ads. So I'm sitting up in Nelson in Lancashire watching Steve Waugh bat, and the great Richie Benaud's commentating, and he had to commentate the last ball and then all over the overchange into the start of the next over. And he started this long-winded, very interesting, for me anyway, analysis of Steve Waugh's batting. And he said, and I'll do his accent very poorly, but he said his feet were about shoulder width apart. His bat's just nestled nicely behind his right foot, very traditional fashion. And he said, these English batsmen, said they're holding the bat up at weird angles and their feet are all over the place and the bat's facing gully and already up in the air. And he's saying all of this while the fieldsmen are getting ready for the first ball of the next over, which was Angus Fraser, I reckon, bowling to Steve Waugh. So this is what I loved about Rich as much as anything else, was his incredible timing. And I don't know whether it's just luck or genius, because he finishes talking about the weird techniques of England, and then the picture comes up of Steve Waugh standing in that traditional sense. He goes, and then you get Steve Waugh. There's an example of it right there. Just a very simple stance at the crease, And then Angus Fraser comes up and bowls the nudist half volley on leg stump. The tugger just goes through mid-wicket that hits the fence and bounces halfway back. And I'm thinking, what's Rich got for me here? And there was a big long break. No one had said anything. And then he said, which doesn't appear to do Stephen any harm. I'm sitting up in Lancashire going, Rich, you are the man. Like, the 4 could have happened 3 balls later and it wouldn't have worked. But because it was the first ball, just as he finished his analysis, mate, genius. All right, backs to the wall in the schoolyard. And this one's come from a mate of mine who listens. I want the boys to tell me, backs to the wall, they've got to pick one. Pat Cummins, Glenn McGrath. Can only pick one. Big Doss?
McGrath's simple candidate. I mean, it's easy to say that, though, because he's finished his career with the record that he's got. In terms of who I'd like to face as a left-hander, it'd probably be, and this might surprise our listeners, it'd probably be Glenn McGrath over Pat Cummins, because I just don't think there's a better bowler, maybe ever, to a left-hander. Pat coming round the wicket, getting the ball to straighten off that. The ball's actually got to work against itself, mind you, to then straighten towards the slips. He just makes a left-hander guess all the time. The thing about Pidge, though, and it's the same as Curtly Ambrose, is that he could also get the ball to hold its line. And that made making decisions almost impossible. So Pidge, for me, gets the gong there.
Bluey?
So what's the actual question?
Well,
Who do you want
Who do you
bowling?
pick?
You're the captain, and you've got to pick one of the 2 of them for your team.
Yeah. Well, purely because at this stage, obviously we know what Glenn McGrath ended up doing and how many games he played and what he did, how many wickets he took. I'm going to say Pigeon, but I am a huge fan of our current Test captain, Pat Cummins. What he provides, obviously, the main thing with that question would be the bowling, but obviously Paddy is a great fielder as well. Although Pidge was pretty good also, had a great arm, didn't drop too many catches. Obviously, I think Pat's got him covered in the batting. I think we'd all agree with that one.
No question.
No, but it's bloody close. I think if Pat ends up playing as many games as Pidge, I think the numbers are going to be pretty similar. But right now, if I have to name one, I'm going to go with McGrath as well.
All right, the Test team speculation will have more people watching Shield cricket at the start of this summer than there has been for years.
Watching or following, they're probably 2 different things. I hear my uncle, who's 89, talking about how when he was going to work in Brisbane City, they used to have the live telecast actually in the mall, Brisbane Mall, and people would stop and go to a pub and actually watch it. I feel that Australian punters are very determined to see the highest level all the time. They're kind of used to that. Oh, my goodness.
Jeepers.
Hound.
The pooch doesn't agree.
Hey, give me a second because this is going to go on.
Oh, my goodness. Look at the dogs just waded in.
Get him on.
Yeah.
Seriously.
That's extraordinary
Blue.
behaviour. Not agreeing with you.
Average
dog.
stuff. Terrible dog.
So following, you say, but not watching.
Yeah, following for sure. I mean, there's going to be absolute rife speculation around who's performing at the right time. If you cast your mind back 12 months, it was exactly the same. It's going to be the most, at least, followed 4 games. No
Louis?
question.
Yeah, no, I agree. The interest in those games will be huge, which is brilliant, I reckon. It's just a great segue and a great story leading into what I think is going to be another bumper summer here in Australia. So, and you can watch it. I mean, I think Fox or KO
Cricket Australia, I think, do it.
Might do, and through Cricket Australia's app as well, you can actually, live stream probably at least, one game out of the rounds going forward.
The fact that we're not sure about that, though, is part there of the problem. And, we should be absolutely on this show telling everyone where to go, how to go, get there. But
No, you can stream them on the Cricket Australia app, Dos, all the Shield
Yeah,
games.
good. I'm glad that that's the case.
Yep.
The other thing is, just quickly, is that I want to see respect given, unlike George Bailey and his selection policies, which have been, I'm just going to pick the best 6 batters. I want to see a showdown with a Matt Renshaw, a Sammy Constance. I want to see horses for courses type approach rather than what we've seen over the last couple of years. And that's why, again, these Shield games are really important. I don't want to see someone coming from 4 and be a bolter as a test opener. No, I want to see openers opening.
That's why you both know I'm a big Johnny Verarity fan. I loved his era of selecting for that reason. You made runs in Shield cricket. You got picked, Buck Rogers being a great example, and he did a bloody good job for Australia when he got picked. I just love the interest in it, Bluey. Like, I just did that game, don't want to bring up the war for you, but the Adelaide Hawthorn game at the Adelaide Oval. And there were still people coming up talking about the Shield final from the end of the previous summer. So I love the interest in Sheffield Shield cricket. It seems to be back. I'm with you, Dos. I'd like more people to potentially watch it. But the fact that they're aware of where the games are and who's playing in them, it hasn't been necessarily the case for the last 10, 15 years. So that's brilliant. All right, the final question. Part of the Barmy Army's prep for an Ashes tour to Australia must be to learn the importance of slip, slop, slap, because when we get late in the day and we get a camera across to those boys and they've got nothing on their head and nothing on their top and they are pink, they don't understand watching cricket in this country, Big Dos.
It's like going on holidays through Europe or just anywhere through Australia. You get a bit giddy, don't you? The first day you think, oh, look, I'm as white as a ghost. I want to just make sure that I'm tanned up and looking delightful for the rest of the holiday. You end up by day 3 peeling. And it's a terrible look. It's terrible for your health. As you boys know, I support the Skin Cancer Council of Australia, and my work and advocacy is all around slip, slop, slap, seek and slide. Barmy Army, take 1 minute of designing a day around putting some sunscreen on and a decent sombrero like Happy Jack.
Exactly right.
And at best, try and get under a stadium, which has got a little bit of cover as well, because it's a long day. And maybe go easy as well on your light beers. I know how much you boys in England like your light beers, but go easy on them. And maybe some hydration as well, Blue.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think most of the Barmy Army have got a permanent case of heat stroke. Most of those legends. But it's going to be another scorching summer. So I remember the Poms love any summer. Whenever it's out, they take full advantage. I remember playing a county game against Hampshire at the Rose Bowl, Haydos, and it must have been 7 degrees at the time.
Yep.
I had every jumper on I could, but the sun was out. It was one of those freezing days with the sun out, and I was looking around the crowd, and there was a guy with his top off. It was 7 degrees, and because the sun was coming down, he had his top off. But any opportunity they can get, but be very, very careful if you haven't been on our shores to not overexpose yourself to that sun.
The last thing you want is your bricky's thumbs getting burnt. Now, look, Blue, I couldn't let JB get away with this last week.
What?
And when I was watching it back on YouTube, I noticed something in the facial features of JB, which did sort of have me a little bit like that. Now, if you zoom in closely on his chin, you'll notice that there maybe, we'll get it confirmed by JB, a little bow tie appearing for the finals.
Well, what happens?
What is that?
What happens is I have what I call the footy cycle. So Friday night, obviously, you're on screen, so you need to be clean shaven.
And your makeup?
All of that. But that doesn't happen again till the next Friday. So I don't shave again till the next Friday morning because I'm lucky, Dos. I consider myself to be lucky. Unlike Bluey, who grows a beard in a day. I
Mate, don't leave Haydos out of that.
And
He's
you,
the
Dom.
world's hairiest man.
and you,
I am
well,
the
you
world's
too. Then
hairiest.
I don't need to and my wife laughs because when the footy season finishes, and then I get about a month and a half of not having to do anything on screen, I just let it go, and it gets a bit of Johnny Depp about it.
Oh,
Sadly,
Johnny Depp.
It's got, well, when I say Johnny Depp, nothing
Turn it up.
grows here. It's only that bit there. But it's got a bit of grey in it now, Bluey, which worries me.
Yes, bit of salt and pepper there. But
Yeah,
you,
that's all right. The grey fox. No one. That's every cloud's got a silver lining, JB. So
I'm
that's
not
all right.
sure.
Yeah.
I'm not
So you're
sure.
telling
I've
us that's
always
the
wondered-
only hair that you grow?
Yep,
I've-
nothing
yeah,
ever here.
unbelievable.
Nothing.
I've always wondered with JB if he ever got, went down in a plane crash or whatever and, ended up on a deserted
Oh, right.
island
Yes,
somewhere
Yeah.
for 5 or 6 years and then we found him. I think he'd look pretty much similar in terms of the facial hair. There wouldn't, maybe just a little.
I'd get the little Fu Manchu and come down the bottom. But there's literally
I shit
nothing
you not.
anywhere else.
I would look like a yeti. It'd be just everywhere.
Imagine what the Dawson looked like.
I'd fluff the smoking jacket up. It'd come right up over.
Big Sasquatch.
Bigfoot. They'd
Oh,
arrive
that's
on
enough
shore
of you, surely.
and they'd think Bigfoot has been found on a
You'd have a
deserted
club.
island.
You'd have a club over his shoulder there. The big
Wilson!
Sasquatch.
Oh, my God. You and Merv. Imagine Merv on a desert island for 15 years. I don't know what would happen there. Boys, I love it. I love the teams. They're both fantastic. We're going to get a player on from that England team, hopefully within the next couple of weeks, and get their assessment of both of your best England teams from your time. So people listening and watching need to understand we haven't included Ian Botham, for instance, the great man, because the boys didn't play Test cricket against him. So it's their time, and they're both amazing teams. So we'll get your feedback on that. Great fun. Enjoyed that, gentlemen. Make sure you listen, of course, all over Bar the Cricket, wherever you get your podcast. But check it out on YouTube as well and social media all over Bar the Cricket. And you can have your input in there too. Look forward to catching up next week, gentlemen.
Good luck with the finals, JB.
Thanks, lads. Vote for my teams. Clearly the best. See you next week.
Desperate pitch.